pause, before you scroll, before your thumb moves, before your attention shifts to something else. This moment is not ordinary. God is speaking now, and He is doing it on purpose. You were not meant to hear this later. You were not meant to stumble upon it casually, and you were not meant to rush past it. There is a reason your movement slowed just enough for these words to reach you. God says, I want you to be with this person. And no, this is not a vague message. This is not symbolic language meant to confuse you. This is not a generic word that applies to everyone. This is specific, and the name that is attached to it will shock you. Stay with me. Do not scroll. Something irreversible is happening right now in your timeline. You were just about to move on, weren't you? Looking for something else to catch your attention. Something lighter. Something easier. Something that didn't require you to feel this deeply. But instead, everything paused. Your body slowed. Your focus narrowed. Your spirit leaned in. That wasn't accidental. The universe did not interrupt you for entertainment. Heaven does not interrupt timelines without intention. God stopped you here because a name is about to surface, and it is connected to your destiny in a way you have not fully understood until now. Stay. There has been someone written into your story long before you were aware of love, heartbreak, or longing. Before your first disappointment. Before your first almost. Before your first prayer whispered in exhaustion, their name was already known. And for a long time, it was intentionally hidden, not from you out of cruelty, but from you for protection. You were not ready to recognize them before, and they were not ready to reach you. But that has changed. Do not leave. There have been nights, quiet nights, when you stared into the dark and wondered when it would finally be your turn. When you asked God questions you never said out loud. When you tried to make peace with waiting, even though your heart was tired of it. You didn't just want love. You wanted right love. Love that didn't cost you your peace. Love that didn't reopen old wounds. Love that didn't make you feel like you had to earn safety. God heard every one of those prayers. And today, the silence around that question is ending. Stay with me. God is directing your attention to one specific person. Not a category, not a type, not a fantasy, a real soul. And the reason this feels intense is because your spirit already recognizes the frequency of what's coming. That strange pull you've felt lately, that sense that something is shifting beneath the surface, was not anxiety. It was anticipation. Something you've been waiting for is moving closer. Do not scroll now. The angels are gathering around you at this very moment, not because you are in danger, but because this is a turning point. This is the kind of moment where missing it doesn't just delay information, it delays alignment. You have been trying to solve this puzzle logically for years. Why certain relationships failed, why timing was always off, why chemistry existed but peace didn't, why connection never lasted. This person is the final piece, and until now, it would not have made sense. Stay. You might already know them, or you might have dismissed them. They could be someone you once overlooked, someone you placed in a category that felt safe but not romantic, or someone whose presence never triggered chaos, so you didn't recognize it as love. Or they may be running toward you quickly, guided by the same divine pull you are feeling right now. Either way, if you leave this message now, you risk continuing to chase what looks exciting instead of recognizing what is meant. God is intervening to stop that pattern. Do not scroll. What is coming is not just romance. This connection is tied to healing, deep healing, the kind that reaches places in you that past relationships never touched. And yes, it is also connected to provision. Not because this person is your source, God remains your source, but because alignment multiplies what has already been promised. When you prayed for peace, abundance, and restoration during your most grounded moments, you were also praying for the partner who could walk with you into that season. This person carries keys you cannot access alone. Stay with me. Leaving now would be like walking away from a door just as you hear it unlocking. What is about to be revealed goes far beyond attraction. It explains why God chose this person, why they were delayed, why other connections had to end. There is a reason the revelation is happening this week. Time matters here. This is not something you revisit later. Stay. God says, the person I want you to be with is probably not who you expect. That alone should get your attention, because you have spent years thinking you knew what you wanted, only to find that what you chose never lasted. This person may have been hiding in plain sight, as a friend, as a familiar presence, as someone you never considered because they didn't activate your wounds. The veil is lifting now, and if you ignore this sign, you may continue chasing intensity while peace waits quietly. God is stepping in to prevent more heartache. Do not scroll. This is not manipulation. This is not fantasy. This is a spiritual exchange. You must be present for it to manifest. That's why your attention matters so much right now. If your spirit feels stirred, not anxious, but alert, that is confirmation. And if you feel led, you may quietly seal this moment by typing Amen in the comments, not for the algorithm, but as an agreement, not a demand, not a plea, an agreement. That you are no longer resisting what God has prepared. Stay with me. There is a powerful secret connected to this person's name. Not just how it sounds, but what it carries. A quality you have searched for, but never consistently found. A frequency that brings safety instead of chaos, stability instead of uncertainty. The final clue will make your heart race, not from fear, but from recognition. You will feel like something clicks into place, but that comes later. Right now, what matters is this. You did not find this message by accident, and leaving now would interrupt a divine sequence that has already begun. Stay until the end. In the next part, you will understand why this person was hidden, what invisible dangers were removed from your path, and how divine protection has been working behind the scenes without you ever knowing. Do not scroll, because now God wants you to understand why this person could not come into your life sooner, and what unseen danger was quietly surrounding you before this moment. This is not about fear. This is about clarity. Before alignment can happen, protection must be established, and you have been protected far more than you realize. There were paths you almost walked down that would have looked right on the surface, exciting, intense, emotionally charged, but would have slowly drained you over time. God saw what you could not see yet. You were searching for connection while still carrying unresolved wounds, and when wounds lead, choices follow pain instead of wisdom. That is why certain relationships kept appearing similar, even though the faces changed. It was not bad luck. It was unfinished healing. God did not allow your true soulmate to step forward while you were still choosing from familiarity instead of alignment. That would have endangered both of you. Stay with me. There was invisible interference around your heart, not from evil, but from misalignment. People who mirrored your trauma instead of your future. situations that activated your anxiety instead of your peace, attraction rooted in intensity instead of safety. Those patterns were dangerous, not dramatically, but slowly. They would have pulled you further away from yourself. God intervened quietly. That is why timing kept failing. That is why connections faded. That is why something always felt almost right, but never settled. Protection often feels like disappointment before it feels like relief. You may not have realized it at the time, but there were moments when you were spared. A message that never came. A meeting that was canceled. A person who lost interest suddenly. At the time, it hurt. But looking back, those moments prevented you from bonding with someone who could not walk with you into your future. God was blocking access, not to punish you, but to preserve you. Stay with me. The danger was not a person. The danger was repeating the cycle. God saw how easily you could have chosen someone based on chemistry while ignoring compatibility. How you might have mistaken adrenaline for love again. How you could have settled for connection without alignment. And God said, not again. So He slowed your life down. He allowed quiet seasons, periods of solitude, moments where you felt unseen, but were actually being repositioned. This was divine protection in disguise. Your soulmate was also being protected. They were kept away from connections that would have hardened them. They were redirected from relationships that would have dimmed their spirit. They were preserved, not untouched, but undamaged by the wrong kind of love. Every time someone tried to claim them prematurely, circumstances blocked it. Every time timing almost worked, something interfered. Not because it wasn't meant, but because it wasn't time. God does not rush unions that are meant to last. Stay with me. There were also forces of distraction, not external enemies, but internal noise, old narratives, self-doubt, the belief that maybe you were too much or too late. Those thoughts were not truth. They were residue. God could not reveal the name while those voices were still loud. You would not have trusted it. You would have second-guessed it. You might have rejected it out of fear. So God waited. Protection sometimes looks like silence. Think about this carefully. If this person had stepped forward before you learned how to sit with peace, before you learned how to say no, before you learned how to trust your intuition, you might have overlooked them entirely, because they would not have matched the chaos you were used to. That is the invisible danger God removed. He healed your lens before revealing the person. Stay with me. You may have noticed recently that your tolerance for emotional games has dropped. That is not bitterness. That is discernment activating. You are no longer impressed by intensity. You are no longer chasing validation. You are no longer confused by mixed signals. That shift happened before the revelation on purpose. Protection always comes before provision. There is also something else you were protected from: false urgency. The pressure to settle, the fear of missing out, the belief that time was running out. Those thoughts were dangerous because they could have pushed you into the wrong arms. God slowed time for you. That is why this message feels like a pause, not a rush. Stay with me. The angels are not surrounding you because something bad is about to happen. They are surrounding you because something precious is about to be entrusted to you. A union that requires clarity, a connection that carries responsibility, a love that will shape your future. God does not hand those things to a distracted heart. Protection had to come first. If you are feeling calmer than usual while listening to this, that is confirmation. Not excitement, not anxiety. Calm. Peace is the language of safety, and safety is the foundation of real love. Stay with me. In the next part, God will begin revealing why this person was chosen specifically for you, how your destiny shifts when this union forms, and why this connection affects more than just your love life. Do not leave. You are exactly where you need to be, because now we move from protection into revelation. This is the part where God begins to explain why this person was chosen for you, not emotionally, but strategically, not randomly, not sentimentally, but deliberately. This connection is not only about love, it is about trajectory. And once you see that, everything about your past and your future begins to rearrange itself. God says, "I did not choose them because they were perfect. I chose them because they were aligned." That distinction matters. You have met people who were charming, passionate, impressive, and still wrong for you, because alignment is not about excitement. Alignment is about direction. This person's presence does not just make you feel seen, it moves your life forward. Stay with me. There is a reason this person feels familiar even before being named. It is not déjà vu, it is recognition. Your souls have crossed paths before, not necessarily in this lifetime, but in purpose. That is why the energy feels calm instead of chaotic, why the thought of them feels grounding instead of consuming, why imagining a future with them does not exhaust you. This is not infatuation, it is resonance. God reveals that this person was chosen because they hold something you cannot cultivate alone, not because you are incomplete, but because destiny sometimes requires partnership to unfold fully. This person brings balance where you tend to overextend, stability where you tend to push, clarity where you once questioned yourself. They do not replace your strength, they support it. Stay with me. Here is the revelation most people miss. This union is not meant to save you. It is meant to unlock you. There are versions of yourself that cannot emerge in isolation. Dreams you delayed because you were carrying too much alone. Ideas you muted because no one mirrored your vision. Confidence you postponed because you lacked reinforcement. This person changes that, not by leading you, but by walking beside you. God says that when this connection activates, your destiny timeline shifts, not dramatically overnight, but decisively. Opportunities begin to align, resources begin to move, support systems form naturally. You stop fighting for momentum and start receiving it. This is why the connection is tied to both emotional restoration and financial breakthrough. Alignment multiplies provision. Stay with me. Think about this carefully. You have been strong for a long time. Strong enough to survive heartbreak. Strong enough to keep going alone. Strong enough to carry visions no one else understood. But strength without support eventually turns into strain. God did not design you to build everything alone. This person was chosen because they recognize your capacity and choose to invest in it, not compete with it. There is also something deeply healing here. This person carries medicine for wounds you did not know were still open. If you felt unseen, they bring presence. If you felt criticized, they bring understanding. If you felt unsafe, they bring consistency, not perfection. Consistency, that is what heals nervous systems. That is what restores trust. Stay with me. This revelation may unsettle you at first, because it challenges what you thought love was supposed to feel like. You were trained to associate love with intensity, with longing, with uncertainty. But God is shifting you into a new definition. Love that feels like home. Love that feels steady. Love that allows you to exhale. Peace is not boring. peace is secure. God says, "You asked for fireworks. I am giving you a flame that never goes out." That is the destiny shift. You are no longer being prepared for temporary connections. You are being prepared for longevity. And longevity requires a different kind of partner. This is also why the name will shock you, because it does not fit your old pattern. It does not trigger the same adrenaline. It does not mirror your past wounds. It does not demand proving. It simply fits. And your spirit knows the difference. You may have overlooked them before because they did not demand attention. They did not pull you into emotional loops. They did not create urgency. They respected your space, even when it cost them closeness. That is not disinterest. That is maturity. God values maturity more than chemistry. Here is where destiny truly shifts. Once this connection becomes conscious, you stop repeating old lessons. You stop attracting unavailable people. You stop entertaining half-commitments. You stop confusing intensity with intimacy. Your standards recalibrate naturally, not defensively, not rigidly, naturally. Because once alignment is experienced, misalignment becomes obvious. This is why the revelation could not come earlier. You would not have recognized it. You might have dismissed it as too calm, too easy, or not exciting enough. But now, after everything you have lived through, your discernment has matured. You can see substance, and God trusts you with it now. This person also carries timing. They arrive when you are no longer desperate, when you are no longer chasing, when you are no longer trying to be chosen. They arrive when you are ready to choose back. That is destiny alignment. There is one more revelation God wants you to hear clearly. This connection does not distract you from your purpose. It supports it. You will not have to shrink your vision. You will not have to negotiate your calling. You will not have to choose between love and growth. This person makes space for both. That is why heaven approved this union. If your heart feels steady right now, not racing, not anxious, that is confirmation. Destiny does not scream. It resonates. Stay with me. In the next part, you will begin to notice signs. Real, tangible confirmations that this shift is already in motion. Not fantasies, not projections, but subtle, unmistakable signals that transformation has begun. Do not leave. You are standing at the threshold of recognition. Because now, we are entering the phase where what was invisible begins to show itself. Not all at once, not dramatically, but unmistakably. Transformation never announces itself loudly. It reveals itself through patterns, and the patterns around you are already shifting. God says, you are not waiting for the sign. You are becoming the sign. That is important, because before destiny manifests externally, it always rearranges you internally. You may have noticed that your reactions are different lately. Things that once unsettled you no longer carry the same charge. People who once had power over your emotions feel distant. Situations that once made you anxious now feel neutral. This is not numbness. This is regulation. Your nervous system is coming back into balance. That is transformation. You are no longer living in survival mode. You are no longer scanning for danger in every interaction. You are no longer overanalyzing tone, timing, or silence. That shift did not happen by accident. God was preparing you to recognize peace, because peace is what your soulmate carries. If you were still addicted to chaos, you would miss them again. But now, you can feel the difference. Stay with me. There is also transformation happening on their side, even if you do not see it yet. God shows that this person has been undergoing their own awakening. They have been shedding old fears, letting go of emotional hesitation, releasing the belief that they are too late or not enough. They are becoming braver, not impulsive, brave. And bravery looks like clarity, followed by action. That is coming. You may sense them energetically. A sudden thought that feels different from imagination. A calm curiosity instead of longing. A sense of familiarity that feels warm instead of consuming. That is not fantasy. That is energetic alignment beginning to synchronize. Souls that are meant to meet begin to feel each other before physical movement happens. Now let's talk about signs, real ones. Not dramatic predictions, not superstition, not forcing meaning where none exists. God communicates through consistency, not confusion. One sign you may notice is repetition, a name appearing in unrelated contexts, a nickname resurfacing unexpectedly, a word, place, or symbol that keeps circling back into your awareness, not once, multiple times, and always when your mind is calm. That is how divine communication works. Another sign is emotional neutrality around the past. People you once missed intensely no longer stir longing. Old wounds feel less charged. Memories lose their grip. This is not forgetting. This is release. You cannot receive what is new while clinging to what has expired. God has been clearing space quietly. You may also notice increased discernment. You see through surface-level charm faster. You feel when something is off without needing proof. You trust your gut without second-guessing yourself. This is crucial. Because your soulmate does not need to convince you, they will feel right without explanation. Another sign is timing alignment. Schedules opening unexpectedly. Delays that once frustrated you now working in your favor. Moments where you are in the right place without trying. This is not luck. It is coordination. Heaven moves pieces long before we see the picture. God also speaks through peaceful anticipation, not anxiety, not obsession, a gentle knowing that something is approaching. If you feel calm curiosity rather than urgency, that is alignment. Urgency comes from fear. Readiness comes from peace. There may also be signs through numbers, songs, or phrases, but not because they are mystical, because your subconscious recognizes patterns connected to meaning. God uses what you already understand. If a specific number keeps appearing when you think of connection, if a song surfaces repeatedly with lyrics that mirror your situation, if a phrase echoes in your mind without force, do not chase it. Just acknowledge it. Confirmation does not require pursuit. Here is an important transformation you must understand. You are no longer trying to be chosen. That alone changes everything. You are now positioned to recognize mutual choosing. That is the foundation of healthy union. God says this clearly. I am not sending you someone to complete you. I am sending you someone to walk with you. That is why the energy feels different. This connection does not pull you out of yourself. It brings you deeper into yourself. There is also a shift in how you perceive attraction. You are no longer drawn to unpredictability. You are no longer mistaking tension for passion. Instead, you feel drawn to steadiness. That is not settling. That is maturing. And maturity recognizes safety as attractive. You may even notice that your body responds differently to the idea of this person. Your breathing slows. Your chest feels open instead of tight. Your shoulders drop instead of tense. Your body recognizes safety faster than your mind. Trust that. Another sign is increased clarity about boundaries. You are less willing to tolerate ambiguity. You are less available to emotional labor. You are clearer about what you will not negotiate. This is not rigidity. This is self-respect. And self-respect attracts alignment. God also reveals that obstacles which once blocked this connection are dissolving. Distance, timing, circumstances, not through force, through resolution. What once made meeting impossible is now neutralized. That is why movement feels imminent. You may feel like something is about to happen without knowing what. That is not imagination. That is transition energy. Before manifestation becomes physical, there is a brief stillness, like the air before rain. That is where you are now. One more sign, your dreams. They may feel more vivid, more symbolic, more emotionally grounded. Pay attention, not obsessively but gently. Dreams speak when the conscious mind is quiet. God says that within a short window, measured in days, not months, you will receive a confirmation that anchors this message into reality. It may be subtle, but you will know, because peace will accompany it. Do not rush ahead. Transformation completes itself naturally when allowed, and you are allowing it now. Stay with me. In the final part, we will seal this alignment, not through pressure, but through agreement. You will understand what action or non-action is required from you, how to stay open without forcing, and how to let this divine union arrive in the correct way. Do not leave. You are closer than you think. Stay here. This is the final movement, not because something ends, but because something locks into place. God says, what is not sealed can still be delayed. And sealing does not require effort. It requires agreement. Right now, heaven is not asking you to chase, fix, or prove anything. Heaven is asking you to consent. You have reached the point where clarity replaces confusion. You are no longer questioning whether this message applies to you. You are feeling it settle, quietly, deeply, into your body. That settling is the seal beginning to form. This is the moment where destiny moves from possibility into permission. God says something important now. I will not force what you are not ready to receive. Your readiness is not measured by excitement. It is measured by peace. And if you feel calm instead of desperate, grounded instead of anxious, present instead of restless, that is your confirmation. Let us be very clear. This sealing is not about claiming through pressure. It is not about fear of missing out. It is not about superstition or ritual. It is about alignment. When you agree internally, reality reorganizes externally. Here is what sealing looks like energetically. You stop second-guessing what you already know. You stop reopening doors God has already closed. You stop explaining your intuition to people who cannot hear it. You stop reaching backward for comfort. You remain open, but not available to chaos. That posture is the lock. Archangel Michael stands in authority here, not with urgency, but with certainty. He is not warning you. He is guarding the transition. He says, nothing meant for you will bypass you once alignment is complete. The fear of missing it dissolves here. What is meant for you does not require panic. Now listen carefully. The soulmate, the connection, the name, it is not revealed through force. It is revealed through recognition. You will not need convincing. When it arrives, your body will respond before your mind does. Breath softens. Resistance drops. Clarity sharpens. That is the sign. God is also sealing your discernment. You will not confuse intensity with intimacy again. You will not confuse chemistry with safety again. You will not confuse attention with love again. This seal protects you after the blessing arrives. Now comes the call to action, and it is intentional, not rushed, not manipulative, not empty. This action is not for God, it is for you. If you are ready to agree with what has already been set in motion, type in the comments, I am ready to receive. Not because typing creates the blessing, but because agreement stabilizes it. Language anchors intention. If you feel led, subscribe. not as a transaction, but as a signal to yourself that you are choosing continuity, not fragmentation. Consistency matters in spiritual alignment. And if you feel a quiet nudge to share this message with one person, not many, not everyone, one, follow that nudge. Alignment spreads through resonance, not volume. Now hear this final truth. You are not behind. Nothing was wasted. Every delay protected you from the wrong version of what you asked for. God did not withhold. He refined. The connection you are moving toward does not arrive to save you. It arrives to meet you. Two whole people, two regulated nervous systems, two aligned purposes. That is why the wait mattered. The seal completes here. There is nothing more you need to do tonight. Nothing to search for, nothing to decode. Just remain open, grounded, and honest with yourself. God says, what comes next will feel natural. That is how you will know it is real. You are safe. You are aligned. And what has been written for you is now moving, quietly, steadily, inevitably, toward manifestation. Stay present. This chapter has begun.